In the last few days, billions of people around the world have been raising their glasses and saying cheers to the start of 2014. But perhaps no one is excited to kiss 2013 goodbye more than President Barack Obama. In fact, it's something he addressed in his end-of-the-year press conference after being asked if he thought it was the worst year of his presidency.
I have now been in office 5 years, close to 5 years. Was running for president for 2 years before that. And for those of you who've covered me during that time, we have had ups and we have had downs. And if I look at this past year, there are areas where there obviously have been some frustrations where I wish Congress had moved more aggressively.
But while the president is frustrated with Congress, many Americans are equally frustrated with Obama over his policies last year. Let's take a quick look at the issues that will define President Obama's 2013 year in office, starting with the notorious NSA. In June of 2013, former government contractor Edward Snowden blew the lid off of the National Security Agency's secret surveillance program. And the revelation showed the NSA's reach had extended to major companies, world leaders, and American citizens. In his first public comments about the leaks, this is what Obama had to say.
By sifting through this so-called metadata, they may identify potential leads with respect to folks who might engage in terrorism. This does not apply to U.S. citizens, and it does not apply to people living in the United States.
The president's defense of these programs, even as they've come under fire in the court system and within the White House's own review panel, have alienated privacy and civil liberties advocates. So let's move on to the Syrian disaster. For the past 2 years, the crisis in Syria has worsened. But most Americans could agree on one thing, that a U.S.-led war in Syria would not be the answer. In fact, according to a Reuters Ipsos poll from August of 2013, only 9% of respondents were in favor of intervening militarily in the country. But despite the overwhelming public opinion, President Obama remained steadfast in his September speech to Americans that a targeted strike be the next course of action. Ultimately, a diplomatic solution was announced. However, some analysts have said that Obama's drumming up of support for military intervention chipped away big at his liberal base. And that takes us to what was supposed to be President Obama's most significant legislative accomplishment: health care. Now, although the healthcare.gov website was nearly impossible to use when it launched, what was perhaps more detrimental is the president's backtracking on one of his most prominent claims.
No matter what you've heard, if you like your doctor or healthcare plan, you can keep it. If you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor. If you like your private health insurance plan, you can keep your plan.
For years, President Obama had been promising millions of Americans that they could keep their health insurance if they wanted to. But as we finally learned in 2013, that's not exactly the case. What President Obama forgot to mention is that only grandfathered health plans would be able to meet all of the law's new coverage requirements. He's made some temporary reparations to fix the bugs, but health care remains a thorn in his side. Now, these are just 3 of the many lows Obama saw last year, which help explain why the president ended his 5th year in office with the worst public approval ratings of his presidency. If you just take a look at this pollster aggregate, you'll see his approval dropped from about 53% in January last year to 42% in December. And those are the numbers that closed out Obama's 2013. So even though 2014 signifies a new year, it may not necessarily signify a clean slate for the Oval Office. In Washington, Ameera David, RT.